Well, howdy, everybody. This is Steve of Thousand Year Home. So I'm continuing on with uh, winterizing my exterior doors and windows. Here I'm bringing in some logs for the inside door, which will be the jambs that I'll use to tie the outside lintels in. So let's talk a little bit about how I'm getting this done. So those are hand cut. You can see they're not perfectly straight,
Well,
but there's my goal right there. I'll walk through this whole thing with the rest of this video. So
not
we'll take a
bad.
look at how I cut these and how you can do it too.
I'm really thinking of cutting it down the middle, using it on both sides, and then I'll run my supports up over that. Put a clamp on that, and then I'll look.
Yeah, the clamps are for real. I have had a wind burst come through the doors once when I was working without anything clamped, and it ripped those beams off the wall, spun them around, and dropped them in the middle of that
Oh, maybe I
connex.
can tighten that up.
So these are pretty straight
Yeah,
for
not
chainsawed,
bad.
aren't they? I mean, I've drawn that up pretty straight. I'm not sure what the effect on the door was. I didn't close it there, but pretty satisfying. So I talk about splitting this down the middle, but I got to tell you that I don't have a saw big enough to do that. And that's what these are going to do. They're going to hold the uprights. Thinking out loud, planning out loud. A great deal of my design work
I'll
here.
measure it from here to there.
Now the
See what
reason
that
why I'm
measurement
measuring that is because I'm going to end up putting drywall or birch wood right in the middle.
is.
4 foot.
I got the room for it.
I got to have 4 foot.
Cut it right there. Then I still have 4 feet between everything. A little bit to spare. I've got a couple, I don't know, 5 inches there maybe? Alright. I think I'm going to put a diamond Diablo blade on that table saw and see if I can almost get through that. And then I'll hand cut it the rest of the way.
Well, I looked at splitting that log, and I decided that it wasn't something I wanted to do. So, thank goodness I have this fork truck to move these logs around. They are not light. I'm going to guess a couple 100 pounds each, and moving around. And so, this is my little saw yard here, and it's a bit of a drive for me to get around through the brush in here. You'll see that it's just a waste of time. So I end up in a little bit, I end up cutting a new path in here so that I can get the tractor around. I do not think I could do this as single build as a single man without a tractor. I wouldn't know how to drag these around and take care of all of that. But the log you just saw, it's not completely ready for me to hang up here either. So all I'm doing is just rough fit just to make sure I've got the right height before I cut 2 wrong ones. I want to make sure I got a right one to begin with. And indeed, this log turned out to be right. I did my measuring and ciphering correctly. I've got 3 sides cut. I think I'm going to leave that natural edge sit there on that. One, I don't have a lot of wiggle room for me to cut it, and I don't want to have to shim it all up. I want it to be actually supporting the outside. I am going to pour concrete on the roof, so a lot of this design work is for me to support the roof as well. So we'll see how all of this works. So I want to show you my log yard, right? So folks can understand how primitively I'm doing this work. And the precision is not there like you would have in a workshop, nor is my skill set there. I'm a man, I got a little bit of a shake here. So you saw earlier I brought that log around the long ways. Now I'm bringing it back because I stripped the bark from it. You can see it's clean, but I want to use it as a template. And when I went to take it back, I found it didn't fit through these trees. So I'm going to take a few minutes right now, and I'm going to clean up this this lumber yard so that I stand a chance of working a little more productively. But indeed, this is some primitive work that I'm doing, and I'm very pleased. Now, obviously, not as primitive as the folks that would have come here in the 16 and 1700s or 1500s and built these missions to begin with. I'm shooting for a mission vibe, so I'm going to save all this mesquite. One, it's full of thorns, so I can't run it over. But two, you'll see in a little bit, I'm using it to build my flower garden out of as a living garden. So I go back and forth a little bit. But there's my little field, what I'm calling a lumber yard. Now, I would have had it mowed down and I would have had it taken care of, but the fire risk out here is for real. So I'm just moving all the logs around. You can't even see them in there, can you, until I pick them up. I guess it's a lazy man's load for me to leave the template log sit there. Plus, I pick it up a little bit of dirt. So look at me snatch that log right out of the ground and up. There we go. I lost my little template. I'll get it later, apparently. So there's a big log right here. You see that? Now that log is the one that I'm going to turn into the sister post for the door jamb that I'm building inside, and I have to finish the inside jamb so that I can do the outside. So I'm going to guess it's every bit of 14 inches on the one end, but it tapers fast. So I need 8 foot high out of it, and so I'm going to set it there and figure out eventually how to get 8 foot out of that board. That's my log roller. I could not live without it. So still working on cleaning up and being able to get through there. So I do not leave the mesquite around. If it grows up and I step on it or go right through my shoe, and it will pop a tire as well. So I'm very, very vigilant at cleaning up and getting the lumber yard around. Super hot while I do all this work. That's another reason why it's slowing me down. You can't appreciate it in the pictures. Finding all my little offshoots. I'm going to end up running those through the bandsaw and making I think 1x2s out of them. Some of them I might even make a little bit of bigger boards on it. And, I'm thinking that I'll use it inside of closets inside the house in order to keep away the moths. The only beetle that we have, or risk that we have inside a cedar, is a cedar borer, and the bug will bore into the bark, and that's one reason why I'm debarking it, because he'll come into your house as well and bore in. So once I'm done with these logs, they're going inside that connex, and I showed you that the connex is hitting 140 or so. One reason I removed the insulation is so that I could put these inside the connex, and I don't know what temperature I need to cook bugs, but I'm going to believe that connex hits it. So 150, a couple of days on end. Plus, it's drying out the lumber for me. Here I am cutting up that mesquite, getting it out of there, and the goal is to not to do the long ride, but to be able to take these logs. And the thing is, I'm working around the house in a concentric ring. So this is how I prep the log for my chainsawing. I'm milling a flat spot where I could put the board on top. So the ones that are easy to cut off, I cut off, and the ones that aren't, I get in there with the chainsaw and I cut them up into little cubes and then mill it down. So there you go. There's my. It was a 6 by 1, right, or 6 by 2, but it's really was 5.5. So my logs, if I go on the outside of that, they end up being about 5.5 wide with that. So I put a screw on each side. Now I've got a little plane of reference, and I could set my chainsaw on it. Another day, and I know that I'm going to take all that video footage I shot yesterday evening, which was me just straightening up my sawmill yard, my saw yard, and got a lot more logs that I have to bring them in, but I do just in time, right? I go and get them and bring them in. What am I working on today? Well, see that log right there? Now I left one face live edge. I stripped the bark off, and but it's cut on 3 sides. Not too bad. I think I'm going to run into town and buy a big hand planer, electric planer. I think I could knock these straight. So this one here, I've got cut on the one side and missed some places. It was a thicker log than I've done before. And tapers, I need right about to there. I'm going to finish this up, cut that other face off and unscrew it. So I'm going to make 2 logs like that for the doorway. And then my sawmill looks okay.
So I can't run my brush hog on all of this stuff. I heard somebody hit a stone and set off a spark and caused a big fire. So you don't know if there's a stone in there, right? You don't even know if the heat from the brush hog will be such that it'll cause a little problem. These posts here I'll use in multiple places. They're coming off the top of big logs, so I'll end up using them as fence posts or, I don't know, handrails. There's a lot of ways they could be used. Yesterday it was hard for people to see, but I got tired of jockeying through this, so I cut down an old dead mesquite there and made a 10 or 12 foot opening. That one's dead too. I could cut that one all the way out too. Get that chainsaw fired up again. So then off camera, what you couldn't see, and I know I'll narrate all this. So all these old dead mesquite. Now I'll cut that and a branch will come down and smack me in the head. I guarantee you while I'm cutting it, one of these old branches will just come out of that. Look, I almost hit myself right there. Anyway, they're all crumbly. So what I'm doing is I'm making a living mycelium garden bed here. Every time I get a box in, I kill a little more grass. But this little swale here was a natural swale. And then I'm coming in, I'm going to stack up all that old dead mesquite along the edge. And then as I dig my earth bag holes, I'll bring in the topsoil, screen it through, and then make this a garden. So anyway, that's the game plan. Mighty hot today. So I think cutting that board, I went through 4 batteries yesterday because it was so hot. So 4 batteries, and that was evening hot. I'm taking a lunch break on my hour lunch break, but I can't stop. I have to move into this thing before the rains come and the cold gets me. So all right, I can see I'm running a little slow. That the gas tank's getting to be empty. Every time taking these boards off is a moment of disclosure, huh? All right. Let's see here. On one hand, well, the side I want to cut off is this side with all of the branches sticking out of it. But it takes a lot longer to cut through a bunch of knots. I think that I shall. And then see, I wanted to do that side because the way this was cut, I lost a couple inches there, so I have to cut it longer than 97. This side's not too bad. I could get in there with a chainsaw and mill some of those down where I missed. The other side looks a lot nicer. Let me roll it over. That side's a lot flatter. Some of that has to do with being tired, I think. See the end right there where I got a weird notch? So I wanted to cut this off. That one has a lot less knots, that's for sure. Probably the edge that's straighter is the edge I need to retain. This one's straighter. So maybe I'll just saw those knots and see. All right, that's what I'll do. I'll cut off all the knots with the chainsaw and then see how close I get it to matching that in thickness. All right, there's the third side. Let me do the unboxing. How about that? Well, I do not see any insects. That's a good thing. This end here, I'm going to run a chainsaw over it. Even that up. Alright. Now all I need to do is cut it to length and get rid of some of these knots. Because it's got to look like that. Alright, got a ways to go here. Not too bad. But again, that's not square for sure. I'll take those knots out of there and I'll cut it to, I believe, 97 inches is what that is. I'll put them together though, match them up. Make them a match set, like bookends. Well, it's lunchtime. Old Hank came up, rang my chimes, said it was time. Looking better. He is looking good. Got a little meat on his bones. I give him 3 squares a day, and if I'm feeling like it, I give him a 3 o'clocker. So he gets a little 3 o'clock. All right. Let's wrap up the logging that I did. So yesterday you saw, I'll put it all in one video. I cleaned up my little log yard, and I had this one that I cut earlier, and yesterday I had finished this up. So these will go on either side of my exterior door. So after I get it, then I just come in with, and I can't really use a spoke shave because these aren't round, right? So then I get in there with my axe and kind of give it a old world look and feel. Anywhere where I think the chainsaw looks too chainsaw-y, go in there and give it a natural look. Yep, sorry about that. So just a little decorative cleaning, but also I do strip all the bark off of it. And then after all the bark's off of it, and you'll see other videos, I grab my angle grinder with a wire brush on it, chase it down. Let's do that so you can see it. All right, well, I hope that you get the gist of it. I don't know if it was videoing all that or not. But anyway, got a lot of wire wheel knocks that right off. All right, well, I'm going to call those 2 logs done and get them in there and get that door done so that I can finish doing it. I got to get those interior, finish the exterior header and sides, and then get this thing watertight around this door. So that's the goal there. And get it all buttoned up so I can get the inside done and get the electric going. All right, like, subscribe. This is Steve at 1000 Year Home. Appreciate you much. Bye.